Back to the Star Report. This is Jason, and this week's Star Report is for April the 13th through the 19th. And this week is going to stay on trend, stay on brand, stay on course for this whole sovereignty revolution, being a new person, doing new things with your life, and choosing yourself and your path over other things, over being told what to do. And so this week is going to have a couple of things happen in it. We're going to have a full moon. We're going to have a Pisces stellium, and we're going to have Easter. And then after Easter, we're going to have a little bit of a break, but that we'll pick right back up again. And if the sun stays on brand, we will continue to have solar flares throughout that week, next week as well. And so that begins our week. Today, we are waiting for the arrival of a CME, a coronal mass ejection from the sun. And so those of you who've been watching the report know that when the sun erupts or shoots a flare in the Earth's direction, that those of us who are sensitive to subtle energies will sort of feel that immediately. That could have caused a little bit of lack of sleep, a little bit of intense dreams. And that CME is going to arrive tomorrow, Thursday, sometime middle of the day. And so that'll also cause a second wave of brain fog and heart palpitations. So you'll be feeling the nerves as the intensity of the moon picks up. So the moon is going to look full on Friday. So Thursday, sun hit. Friday, the moon is going to look full. Saturday, it's going to hit its zenith and be at its most intense and its brightest in the sky. And so Saturday also marks the day where the planets conjunct in Pisces. And so Pisces is the fish. And so the Pisces gathering is, it's a nice spiritual energy. Usually it feels nice and subtle, but coming on the heels of the solar flash and the full moon, it could have this nice, gentle, divine feminine energy to it. I just don't think that's going to be the case. And so that conjunction is actually a good reminiscent of the last age, right? We're moving into Aquarius and we just left Pisces. And so moving from that last age and over this entire week, which the Western world has celebrated as Christian Holy Week, we had Palm Sunday last Sunday, and then this Sunday following the full moon or in the midst of the full moon is Easter Sunday. So we had Palm Sunday, which is the celebration of Jesus' earthly ministry and its hopeful triumph in claiming sovereignty in this realm. And then we have Easter Sunday following on that, where we had Good Friday in between, or I guess we're still having Good Friday this week. Good Friday at the beginning of the full moon, where we have the crucifixion of Jesus. And of course, Easter is about the resurrection, right? So we have this whole idea of the age of Pisces, where Jesus is sometimes referred to as the Fisher King. So we've got Good Friday, the full moon, and then the resurrection. And so that energy, even if you're not celebrating, like I said last week, the Christian practices, that energy still goes into what they call the zeitgeist or the group consciousness. And so you will feel people's intensity around that, whether that's devotion, whether that's agony, whether that's a focus on Good Friday and the sacrifice, or whether that's resurrection and the triumph. That energy is here, and then that's matching the arc of this whole thing with the return of Pluto in the Age of Revolution from 1776. So that whole thing is very intense, right? So the resurrection of the Fisher King during this energy might not make it feel as gentle and spiritual, or maybe spiritual, but not as gentle as usually that Pisces stellium would, or those planets that are conjuncting in that sign. And so when you think of that, and then we have Sunday, we'll move into the week after that. And so this week it is a little bit of a two things that go against each other. I can't remember dichotomy, a both and kind of thing. The resurrection is usually looked at when we sort of have the stories in the Western world of Christianity that it was scary and people remained silent and didn't talk about it and didn't know what to say about it. And you'll find that the disciples afterwards were hiding and had to be told that, hey, by the way, what Jesus said he was going to do happened. And so that whole idea of being quiet and waiting seems to be the energy that is projected from the traditions of the West, and it's contrasted. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's contrasted against what we usually feel about the happiness, the joy of Christmas, right? And so we're telling everybody, "Hark the herald angels sing." Things are telling everybody about there's this return or this birth of a baby, but nobody's really talking about with the resurrection of the new stuff, right? And so the energy of the stars this week is actually that opposite, right? And so rather than remain quiet or remain silent, or as the Western world sort of celebrates in the tradition that the disciples went into hiding, really the shift, the full moon, the newness, the resurrection, the whole energy of Pluto's return is we're supposed to find our voice this week. So when we come into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, the planetary system really starts to come into the eclipse season, and so it marks the beginning of a season of eruptions, of shifts, of let's proclaim and stake who we are and our sovereignty, right? And so the energy, while it's intense, and sometimes family gatherings are intense, the weekend is really bringing us to be able to, instead of think about, decide, contemplate, meditate on what it means to be us, and what it means to sort of be in the awakening of this solar energy, this resurrection of the sun, because we're in spring, this resurrection of the Christ, which is the tradition of the West. That whole idea is, now that we are alive, we are awake, we are being awakened, especially in this eclipse season, being awakened to higher echelons of consciousness. What are we going to say about it? How can we contribute to the group spirit, the zeitgeist, as they call it, the group consciousness, with our own voice, right? How can we provide a vibration of what does it mean from us, right? And so we're going to have the resurrection of our voice coming out to sort of proclaim our own sovereignty, to say what it means to be human in this age, where we are having expanded consciousness all over. And even in the face of what looks like in the zeitgeist, or at least on the televisions and in the practice of being the Western world of, economics and war, and what does the human spirit have to say about that, and how will that voice change the zeitgeist and sort of create this newness, right? So seems like it was going to be a nice week. We are all on vacation, but it is going to be slightly intense. And then that intensity is going to lead to be able to, how can you remain silent in there? That might seem a little scary, but you don't have to be non-silent on social media. You don't have to make a video like I'm making right now. You can just simply speak your truth into reality, whether that's an out loud prayer at home, whether that's an out loud affirmation during your meditation, whether that's just speaking to people over the weekend amongst your family about these new things that have been happening on the inside of you, these thoughts and inspirations that you've been having as the sun has been causing you to wake up in the middle of the night and have these ideas. What do those things mean for you? And you'll sort of find that once you start to have a conversation about those things out loud, that other people might be experiencing the same thing. As somebody who used to run a church in the Western world, people's ideas and understandings tend to be more unified than you think, because we are experiencing this whole group consciousness thing. And so even now, as I run the shop and I hear people's spiritual contemplation and interactions and strife in their regular life, they're having a lot of the same issues affect them. And a lot of those issues that are affecting you are these solar things, are these grand dramas of the stars, of the energy of the consciousness. And so when you're aware that those are happening by watching this kind of video, liking and sharing amongst your friends, then that video, then that understanding starts to be, oh, I'm not alone. And therefore your voice can get even louder, so that instead of an individual voice in the wilderness, as it were, those voices can come together in almost like a harmony in a choir. And that doesn't mean you have to believe what everybody else believes, or all of a sudden share your deepest, darkest beliefs or understandings. It just means that you're not alone, that this idea that you're sovereign doesn't mean that you're sovereign in your own little world and in your own little bubble. It means that you're sovereign and you can interact and not lose yourself once you're in a community, once you start to speak out loud. That seems like a lot of intensity for just a star report. But that's the star report for this week, April the 13th through the 19th. Like I said, there is a full moon, there's a solar flare hitting, and then there is Easter, the resurrection. And I guess in between there is also Good Friday. So there should be this clearing of emotions, this resurrection of this understanding. And then leading into next week, beginning Monday, you should be able to find your own voice from the inside and start to speak based on that sort of Pisces stellium, that return of the last age, where we're proclaiming that there is something new and that humanity has a group consciousness which is holy, which is spiritual, which is worth hearing. So have a good week. Until next time, this is Jason. Many blessings.